blow up your 4L60E territory. What's going on, Tahoe fans? So today we're back with a repair on Tahiti, and this is basically an issue that pretty much plagues all these SUVs and trucks. You guys remember a while back, well, I might as well tell you what we're doing first. We're going to be replacing the steering shaft. Once again, you guys remember a while back, I think when I did the idler arm and the pitman arm, we adjusted the steering box, and I took the steering shaft, gave it a little, and that redistributed the grease and got rid of that common clunk that all of these have in the steering column. And basically what I'm talking about, there's a kind of a crunchy, clunky feeling that when it gets bad enough, not only do you feel it through the wheel, but you can hear it. Basically at low speed, going over bumps, making turns, any kind of low speed suspension movement, there's this kind of crunchy, clunky kind of noise that comes through the column. And when I'm not going to say adjusted, when I just moved that shaft around basically, and it moved the grease further down the splines, basically redistributed it, that tightens up that joint so you don't get that clunk anymore. I did that when I first got this thing. I did it again in that video, and then after shooting that video, less than a month I think, it came back, and I didn't even bother doing anything to it because I knew what the problem was. But today we are going to fix it for good, and I have the replacement steering shaft that we're going to be installing. Actually, I'm going to turn to Dunkin' Donuts here. It's a driveway and a turn, so here we go. Maybe you guys will hear it. I'm turn the signal off. There's this clunk that happens at low speeds, going in driveways, low speed bumps, taking turns at low speeds. On the highway, I would say anything over 30 miles per hour, honestly, you don't really hear anything. It's mostly with the movement of the suspension or braking, really, when the whole body moves and the suspension kind of dips down and comes back up. So to fix this problem for good, today we're going to be replacing the upper steering shaft. Now this is supposed to be a revised version. I got off of eBay, only like 35 bucks for this thing. And yeah, it's supposed to eliminate this problem for good. This thing has 234,000 miles on it. Even if this wore out again in 200K, honestly, 35 bucks, 2 bolts to remove it. Not really a big deal. But yeah, this part is supposed to be better so that doesn't happen again. And basically this mounts to the steering column on one end, stops at the firewall at the other, and then there's an extension that actually goes from here down to the steering box. And the whole purpose of this is because obviously these are body on frame SUVs. So we got the body sitting on rubber bushings, and then the frame is obviously just the frame, and that's where the steering box is mounted. So what happens is any kind of movement between the body and the frame that essentially probably isn't moving as much, the shaft here is going to kind of, move and make up for that. And obviously with enough miles, as this wears out, this is going to loosen up and you are going to get some noise. In addition to replacing this, we also have the lower, which is the completely wrong part. That's why it took me so long to get this video together, and why you guys haven't seen a Tahoe video in so long. It's because I ordered this and then I realized it's totally the wrong part. You can see it's hollow. This doesn't collapse, and it just has a universal joint down here where it connects to the box. And basically this one comes out of the firewall, plugs into here, that goes up to the column, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But being I do have this, I am going to use it, and we're going to install both of them today. And for the link to this, I'm actually going to put the eBay link where I got it from, as well as an Amazon link, because I noticed a lot of times people come across these Tahoe videos months, sometimes years later, and the links don't work anymore to eBay. So if I could find it on Amazon, I'm going to link that down there in addition to the eBay link, because honestly, it's probably just going to be cheaper on eBay. So to remove this, it's actually pretty straightforward. Anybody who saw my video when I disconnected it from the lower, gave it a little of that to redistribute the grease, it's pretty much the same thing, except we have to remove one more bolt. In my case, 2 more bolts, because we're also removing the lower portion from the steering box. But basically, we have that 15mm bolt that passes right through here, where there's a bolt head on one side, nut on the other. With that out, we could separate the bottom from the top. Then we just got to go under the dash, disconnect the top from the column, and then we can pull this thing right out. So under the hood on the driver's side of the engine bay, you can see the brake booster, we have the wiring harness, and then right here under this power steering hose, we have our bolt, and basically we're going to take that out. It is a 15, I believe. So this goes over the shaft, and then that passes through it, and that's the actual nut. So I have the wheels pretty much totally straight. Come under here. The bolt we're going to be removing is right there. And same deal, that's a 15. You can slide the bolt out. And this one's opposite. The bolt head is actually part of the bracket, and the nut comes off. Put that out. You could slide this down. So with both ends disconnected, we do need to pull it out through the interior. But the problem is, if you have adjustable pedals, and yes, this is my blood, and that is a razor blade that is machined into the bracket. That's some of my blood too. And yeah, basically if you have this stupid adjustable pedal thing, you can't pull this thing down. So what I'm going to do now is remove these two 10s that hold the entire pedal bracket to the firewall. There's one nut here, and I think there's just one more right back there. And then hopefully that's going to allow me to drop this down enough to clear the column, and we can slide it right out. All right. There it is. All right, that's it. Yeah, basically 2 nuts. I used a 10 little swivel here on the 3/8. And with that bracket out of the way, it'll slide out. If you have an older truck that doesn't have the stupid ass adjustable pedals, that's one step you can avoid. All right, so with this thing out, it's no wonder it was making noise. I mean, I can actually hold both ends and feel, as you turn the wheel, there's like a clicking there. This thing is absolutely friggin' shot. And comparing it to our replacement, absolutely no twist to it, way tighter. I think before I pop this in, I'm going to disconnect our connection at the steering box. I'll put this guy in there, and yeah, it's just opposite of removal, and put the gas pedal back on. Let's just drop this back down. And definitely do not move your steering wheel while this is disconnected, because you will destroy the clock spring. So make sure the steering wheel stays in the exact position it is when you pull this off. If you want to tie it with the seat belt or do something to keep it from moving, because with this disconnected, the steering wheel can essentially freewheel, and there is a clock spring in there where all the steering wheel wires and airbag wires pass through. And yeah, you do not want to turn that with this shaft disconnected. All right, the upper nut is kind of a pain in the ass to get to. I can't get my hand in there. So I just put a little paper on the nut to kind of hold it in the socket and put tape on here. So that's not going to go out. And I'm going to kind of try to fish it through there. So you got to go through here and get it on the stud. And lastly, we got to put that nut back on there and tighten it down from in here. All right. And I know I was just stressing to you guys not to turn the wheel with that disconnected. You can move it to get the nut where you want it. You can see, obviously, it's not connected. You do not want to spin this. At most, go that way, put it right back where it is. Leave the seatbelt maybe looped through it. That'll still allow you for a little bit of movement to actually get to the bolt, but you're not going to accidentally spin it, because if you do that, none of your steering wheel controls are going to work. Your airbag light's going to be on. Everything's going to go to hell. You're going to have to remove the steering wheel, replace the clock spring. And yeah, just make sure you remember exactly where you had the wheel. All right, so now we can just come on in here. You can see the end of our new shaft. And for most of you guys, you're probably just going to be connecting it back to the existing one that's down there. For me, being I do have the new one that I accidentally ordered, I'm going to zip out the bolt that goes down there to the steering box. And I'm just going to replace this one as well. You know what? I said I got this thing by accident, but I'm kind of glad I did because this U-joint, it's actually pretty crunchy. You can feel it like binding up. So yeah, I'm definitely going to link this one down there as well. All right, so that's basically it. We are finished here. We have the connection to the column tightened down inside the car. We have the 15mm pass-through bolt tightened down, connecting the upper and lower shafts. And then I already tightened down the connection to the steering box. The funny thing is, anybody who's been following this kind of build, or you know the repairs I've been doing on this thing from the beginning, link to that playlist at the top of the screen. There's kind of been like a running joke that this was like a crime scene trucks I got from auction, and there was like questionable stains inside, and some look like it could have been blood. I'll tell you one thing, now there is definitely some blood all over this thing. All right, so before we go and take this thing out for a drive, a couple of things. Definitely watch out for those brackets under there. One of them is just razor friggin' sharp, that one right below the steering column, and then obviously trying to get the pedals out of the way doesn't help either because that top nut is an absolute pain in the ass to get to. But yeah, before we take this out, I just want to mention to you guys, if you like this video, definitely leave a comment, or better yet, like the video, give it a thumbs up, because the more likes I see on these type of like Tahoe videos, the more I'm going to kind of prioritize myself to push more of this stuff out. I do have quite a few parts that need to go on this thing, and honestly, the Trans Am just been taking up a lot of my time. Luckily, the Camaro's tuned now. I've been actually enjoying that car. There's a few little things I want to do, but it's nothing major, and it's probably stuff I'm going to take care of on my own time, and then I'll probably give you guys a little update video on exactly what I did. But yeah, if you like the Tahoe videos, give this video a thumbs up, and I'm going to keep them coming for you guys. All right, guys, on the road with the replacement steering shaft. The noise is gone. Completely gone. No clunking. No crunchy noises. You come to a stop. Nothing at all. So the $35 upper steering shaft from eBay is a success. If you guys have that problem with your Tahoe, Escalade, Silverado, Suburban, SUV, pickup truck, whatever you have, and it's driving you crazy, change that shaft. It will get rid of that kind of crunchy feeling steering column, that, you know, clunky noise going over low bumps, making turns. And it's kind of weird because every time I come to a stop or I turn, I'm waiting to feel or hear that like crunchy sound, and it's totally gone. Side note, the steering wheel is sideways now. Obviously, I had this thing aligned when I went and did the tires and the idler arm, and when I got it aligned, I had the clunky shaft in there with that play. So obviously now that that's tight, the steering wheel isn't straight. Now, luckily the alignment is fine. This is literally just because of that play in the steering shaft, the steering wheel isn't centered, so nothing's gonna wear weird or anything. It's really just more of an annoyance. But in the next video, I think we're gonna do kind of a winter checkup on this thing. I'm gonna check the front end and see if there's any playing anything, and we'll take care of that because I do have lifetime alignment with Pep Boys. So before I bring it over there, I got to make sure the front end is tight, because if they find anything with any kind of play, they are probably not going to want to do the alignment. But once again, I'm going to link the parts down in the description, the upper shaft, the lower shaft, links to eBay and Amazon, just in case the eBay link expires. You guys will still be able to find it, or at least the part number, through Amazon. And once again, if you enjoy these Tahoe videos, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I'm going to kind of be using that as a gauge now compared to my other videos. And depending on the likes, as I upload them, I'm going to kind of prioritize everything where I make sure I get a consistent Tahoe video for you guys. At the same rate I put out a Trans Am or any other kind of video at that point. And once again, guys, that's going to do it for this one. I'll see you in a few days.